Pure domination from the Wolves tonight, 127-109 over the Pacers. And I got Wolves expert Jack Borman to help me break it all down. And it's all coming up next on the Locked On Wolves POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves moved to 19-5. They jumped to 11-1 at home. They take down the Pacers tonight, 127-109. What's happening, everyone? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Jack Borman, on Twitter, at JRBorman13. And before we jump into all the action, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. All right, brother, let's just jump right into this one. Lots to cover. Bottom line, though, Wolves moved to 11-1 at home. They continue to protect their home court. A little bit of back and forth, if you remember. Feels like a long time ago. Think back to halftime. A little bit of back and forth. Pacers' largest lead was 6. Wolves' largest lead was 5. That was at half. Cat doing the heavy lifting, 20 points at halftime. Ant started out 0-4. Count them, 0-4, but 4 quick threes, though. Boom, just like that. Bang, bang, bang. He had 18 at half. It felt like that was kind of the spark plug. I'm curious your thoughts on that, but it felt like that was the spark plug they needed in the second quarter. They end the night, though, those two, Cat and Ant, 77 combined points, 8 assists, 14 boards, an absolute masterpiece from that nasty duo. You walk me through it, though. What's your biggest headline in this one as the Wolves beat the Pacers? How'd they do it tonight?
Yeah, I think they just played through the right guy at the right times, right? And I think, coming into this game, I fully expected this to be a Karl Anthony Towns game, if you will. If you just take a look at who the Pacers have played, the last 2 weeks or so, they've given up 31 points to Kyle Kuzma. Giannis has scored 64 and 54 in 2 games, 2 separate games. Jimmy Butler had 36, Jeremy Grant had 34, Pascal Siakam had 36. So not great. The Pacers gave up the most points to opposing power forwards coming into this game. And the Wolves just went right after him with Karl Anthony Towns, right? And, Karl Anthony Towns, kind of like a not super flashy innings eater that just kind of gets the job done, gives you 7 strong shutout innings. And then you just kind of get a flashier, throws a fastball 105 miles an hour, throws some nasty breaking pitches. And Anthony Edwards, a guy who just, when he gets going, he just creates so much more energy. And it's just such a unique superpower that he has that, when he makes a shot or sees a second shot go through that, he just turns it on and it just breaks the spirit of an opposing team. And there's no question that when he saw that first field goal go down with like 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and then turns it on, he scores 12 of the teams, or excuse me, I think he scored, I think it was 16 of the team's last 22 points in the second quarter, something like that. And when that jump shot is falling, he's pretty much impossible to guard with the way that he's just able to toy with defenders and make such good decisions with respect to when to, shoot from 3 and when to put the ball on the deck and get to the hole. So just really fun to see those two guys play off of each other. And they showed, I mean, this can be a really dangerous, high potent or, high caliber potent offense when those two guys are playing off of each other and just kind of taking what the defense gives them. Right. And that's exactly what they did tonight. And it was really, really fun to see those two. And almost got the second time that those two have combined for 40. Ant was gunning for it, but unfortunately the scoreboard kind of necessitated that those guys take a seat with 5 minutes and change to go.
It felt like they were going to get pulled about 6.5 minutes left, which it's like, okay, you guys put up 74, I want to say, and you get pulled with 7 minutes left in the game. That's impressive as well. But yeah, they definitely tried to get Ant to 40. But nonetheless, again, 77 combined points, unbelievable. Cat 14th double this year, back on pace for that 50-40-90 season. That 1-2 punch, though, they just got it done tonight. 65% of the team's points when they finally checked out. Just an absolute masterpiece. I usually save this question for the end. I'm going to fling it out right now. Throwback court, throwback unis. How saucy was that combo, man? I can't get enough of it. I'd love to see the stats at the end of the year with each jersey. That's the analytics that I'm looking for. Did you like that tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I've seen it in person, obviously, more than a few times, and it's just tremendous, right? And what I kind of judge it by is like, how do people around the league view it? And
yeah, I
people
know, right?
around the league think that this is one of the best jerseys in the league. It's just so clean. Everything about it is perfect. The old Shep logo is fantastic, and I think just every highlight looks better when Ant or Cat or Rudy or whoever it is wearing that jersey. So. Yeah, the anti-Muskies jerseys. There you go.
I love it. I love it.
I love it.
The comment section on fire as always. Hey, Mike Conley, by the way, gets his 6,000th assist tonight. What's that say about how? Yeah, very fitting.
It came on a Rudy lob.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. What's that say about how good that guy's been? And what do you have to do to have that kind of volume and longevity in this league? How old is he now? 37?
36.
Okay, 36. I'm pushing it. Sorry, Mike.
I don't know. One of the two. Someone Google it and can look
check
it
out.
But,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously you got to take care of your body, right, to be able to play at such a high level this late into your career. You've got to have just such a good understanding of of the NBA offense and how to take advantage of what any type of defense is giving you. Got to know how to set up your teammates. Obviously be able to be fortunate to play alongside a lot of really great and talented offensive players, which he obviously has done. And obviously not turn the ball over. It helps when you have that high of an assist to turnover ratio, right? And the passes that you do throw, end up setting up your teammates for success. So obviously it's, just super great that he's been able to be a part of this thing and has played such a huge role in this team. Playing as well as they have. And the other thing about Mike Conley, right? The Timberwolves are now 19-5. He has played in all 24 games, which I don't think anyone would have expected coming into this season, right? I think you would probably expect that, for every 10 games, he probably sits one or two. And that just hasn't been the case so far. Like, I think Chris Finch said at the beginning of the season, like you would have thought that we needed to bubble wrap Mike Conley with the things they had heard about him coming into before they traded for him. And it's been nothing but further from the truth in that, he really wants to play. He's in phenomenal shape. And he really knows how to kind of reduce the wear and tear on his body. Right. He does a great job of kind of avoiding screens and reducing the amount of contact that he takes up there at the point of attack. So obviously it's really cool for him to be able to accomplish that in a Minnesota Timberwolves jersey. And like I said, just really fitting that it came on a lob to Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, well said. Last game, we talked about the bench stepping up so much. Ant, 3 of 19, his worst shooting night of his career, literally. Tonight, it's the studs, obviously, Ant and Cat. I guess this team, it feels like they keep proving they can beat you a number of ways, which, that's a mark of any great team. But at their best, right, when they're fully healthy, just playing at their peak, everything's clicking. What's their ideal style of play? What's the number one identity they want to be known for and play like night in and night out?
Offensively?
Yeah, offensively. Yep.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I really don't necessarily think that they have an identity right now. And I think part of that is just because they attack, the defense based on, what the defense is giving them, right? Like they have enough firepower to be able to do that. Right. And I think if the defense doesn't have enough to guard Anthony Edwards off the bounce, they're really going to go and play through Anthony Edwards. If, they have a shorter center or a really poor pick and roll defender at the 5, I think they're going to get more Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert pick and roll. And you see in a game like tonight, right, there's a smaller 4 guarding Karl Anthony Towns, Obi Toppin, one of the worst defenders in the NBA. Like I said, Indiana's allowed the most points to power forwards this season for a reason. And they just played through Karl and just kind of let everything fall from there. And I think then, based on whatever your first kind of bullet point is on the offensive game plan, tonight it was play through Karl. And then once they started helping more aggressively on Karl, right, Karl was able to get rid of the ball and more guys were able to play off the catch, attack downhill. It opened up a lot of, extra pass opportunities. That's how Anthony Edwards kind of got going with some of those extra passes to the corners and the slots for open 3-point shots. And then it's just an avalanche when you're, able to swing the ball. The defense is expecting you to shoot threes. You're able to, play downhill off the dribble. And the thing that I think a lot of people forget is the Timberwolves have a lot of really talented 3-point shooters. The Timberwolves, 18 of 30 from three tonight, 60%, outscored the Pacers 54-18 from three tonight. And that was the biggest difference in the game. If you kind of go and look around some of these stats, I mean, the Pacers outscored them 70-50 in the paint. Pacers had 17 second chance points to the Timberwolves 8. They had 16 fast break points to the Timberwolves 2. They had just as many points at the foul line. They had 63 bench points compared to the Timberwolves 35. I mean, the game was won and lost at the 3-point line. And when the Timberwolves are able to share the ball, kind of allow the gravity that their superstars have offensively to make life easier for all the complementary players, I think they're going to be a really, really tough team to stop. And you saw that tonight.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And shout out Dave Huggett over here. I'm going to throw it back up here in the comments section. Cat is such a different player now that the pressure is off and his improvement and maturity are next level. What do you think the catalyst has been for Cat this season? And how much has the help of Ant and Rudy and Conley played in to his ability to take his game to the next level? Because, I think back, and you can speak to this far better than I can, but I think back, to 2, 3, 4 years ago or whatnot with Cat. And when it was just him every night, kind of trying to carry the team on his shoulders, it felt like at times it was exhausting for him. What's your 2 cents on that as far as Cat kind of from years past to this year and what you're seeing?
Yeah, I don't really think anything is different offensively, personally. Okay. Karl Anthony Towns has always been one of the best offensive players in the NBA. He's always done it incredibly efficiently, and he's been incredibly consistent. I think a lot of people forget about that because he's injured last season. So for me, what's really been different with Karl Anthony Towns has been his defense this year. He's been a very, very good interior defender, and he's never been that in his NBA career. He's always been probably a better defender in space than he has at the rim. And I mean, you look at all the different, data points, what the Wolves defense is like with Towns and Gobert both on, with Gobert on and Towns off, and with Towns off and Gobert off, or Towns on and Gobert off. I mean, they've been elite in all three of those different types of lineups. And so I think with Karl and being different, it all starts there. But offensively, I mean, when you have a point guard that's able to set the table and kind of get guys, the ball where they like to work, and Mike Conley, that obviously makes it easier. And then for Karl, I mean, he's really been waiting. He really only had one season his entire career where he had another, really, potent, high caliber, just super efficient offensive talent around him. And that was the 1 year with Jimmy Butler. Right. And, no disrespect to Andrew Wiggins, but Andrew Wiggins just was never that guy. And, and I think now that Karl Anthony Towns has that and Anthony Edwards, I think a lot of people expected Karl to, take offense to not being the number one guy, when in reality, I think Karl Anthony Towns is more excited that Anthony Edwards is this guy than anyone else, because, it's less work for him. And, and everything that he does offensively is going to come a little bit easier in terms of he's going to get some more open shots. He's going to get more one-on-one opportunities. He's going to, see less, see less hands, less length in the paint, because, guys have to stay home on all the different shooters that they have. And so I think in that regard, the game has gotten a little bit easier for Karl, but, he's getting a lot of his points in the same way, right? He's been a really efficient post-up player for the most part. He's obviously been really efficient from three, but he's not shooting a ton of 3-point shots necessarily. And he's done a lot of his work on the drive as well. And I think it just obviously helps. He's got more talent around him, so the defense can't devote quite as much attention to him. And then when they do, obviously he's very good at being able to kick the ball out and, get the defense from rotation and help get his teammates open shots. And we saw plenty of that tonight as well.
Yeah, that was well said. I mean, I can't argue. Nobody would. The offense is the same with Cat. It feels like, though, there's a level of maybe maturity or just a little bit more polish to his game this year that maybe we haven't seen consistently.
And he's able to pick his spots. He's able to pick his spots a little bit more now, too, that he's not seeing quite as much attention.
Yeah, no, well said. A couple more on tonight, what you saw. But first, quick word from our sponsors over at FanDuel. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you're getting $150 in bonus bets when you win just a $5 money line wager. That's $150 in bonus bets when you throw down just $5 on any money line wager. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on all the action. The app, it's so easy to use, and they got everything you need. Money lines, parlays, prop bets, you name it, they got it. FanDuel's got everything you need to bet on the entire NBA season, and it's by far the easiest and simplest betting app to use. Go check it out for yourself. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon today. America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. Let's pick back up here. Wolves now 15-1 this year when leading after the third quarter. That's an incredible stat in itself. I feel like I ask you this every game, but just the turnaround, Jack, from last year to now, specifically in these third quarters, I personally I continue to be amazed night in and night out. 15-point advantage tonight in the third. I think they hit 7 of 9 3-pointers, took total control of this game going into the fourth, 38 to 23-point advantage in that third quarter. How much of the success is on Coach Finch and how much is just on the players executing the game plan?
Yeah, I think it's really tough to suss that out, right? Because they've been in such lockstep really this whole entire season, and it's been so much fun to watch. And I think when you look at it, I mean, the Timberwolves are the second best third quarter team in the league this year. They have a net rating of plus 17.9. That trails only the Philadelphia 76ers of plus 22.8. I think a lot of it too has to do with like these guys hold each other accountable, right? And if someone is doing something that isn't helping the team, or they're struggling, or someone needs to change something, all these guys are more than willing to tell each other, like, hey, Luke, man, you're holding the ball too much. You got to make quicker decisions with the ball. Or hey,
Jack, you're in the toilet bowl in your fantasy football league, man. Come on, man, you got to be better, dude. Come on.
Hey, Karl, like, hey, Karl's like, hey, man, I'm in the post. I'm getting doubled. Jaden, I need you to slot cut more to open stuff up. Or hey, I need everyone to come, show me an outlet so I can throw the ball without turning it over. Those types of things are really important. And, these guys are all more than willing to tell one another that. And, and kind of sometimes self-correct some of those things, which is really huge. And all these guys in the locker room really get along. And that obviously I think has a lot to do with it. I think this coaching staff too is like more than willing to just kind of rip up, what they did in the first half if it wasn't working, right? And this is the value of being able to play so multiple on both ends of the floor. You can run a bunch of pick and roll with Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert. You can play isolation ball with Anthony Edwards. You can, play 5 out with Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid at the 5 and just attack off the bounce and move the ball and try to shoot a bunch of open threes. And then defensively, right? We've seen the Timberwolves go zone a lot in the third quarter, which has worked, especially against some of these younger teams that, aren't quite as good, realizing those things and making quick decisions with the ball and moving without the basketball. And then too, like switching from a drop, if Rudy's in there, to getting Karl at the 5 and playing more at the level of the screen defensively. So the Timberwolves just being able to mix and match, everything that they're doing has been huge. And I think they've come out with a really crisp and clear offensive focus in most of these games, right? I think obviously, they set the tone on the defensive end of the floor, but a lot of these third quarters, it's just like very consistent. Like we're going to play through Anthony Edwards if he had a tough first quarter or a tough first half. We're going to play through Karl Anthony Towns if he has a mismatch in the post. And all those things have kind of combined to create, this incredible third quarter run here that, I think Timberwolves fans are still kind of waiting to come crashing down to earth, just because of what we've seen in years past. So it's been really fun to just kind of see all the confluence of those things and the stars align and see this product that's really driving winning for the Wolves.
You don't need to give me a deep dive, but just because we're talking about these second half adjustments, they kept saying on the broadcast a couple times in the first half, the Wolves were having some trouble on defense, maybe a communication thing, but just not getting any stops. I think the Pacers scored on like 8 straight possessions there in the second and just maybe lacked some intensity. Just curious, 20, 30 seconds, if you saw anything specific and maybe something that they changed there tonight going into the third quarter, maybe that zone defense or something else that you already mentioned.
Yeah, I think that they just really tried to, I think show more attention to guys in the paint. And I think when they did that, it was tougher for Indiana to, to pass the ball and get kickouts. And and all those types of things. And I think, when you think about how small Indiana was playing tonight, the more length that you can show them in the paint, just the tougher it is for them to be able to shoot over it, shoot around it, make passes around the length or through the length. Those types of things made it really difficult. And I think the Timberwolves also did a good job of really crashing the glass and preventing Indiana from getting all these second chance opportunities, that you saw in the first half. And obviously, still allowed some second chance points in the second half, but I think, overall it was much more, clean and consistent, allowed them to kind of get out and run a little bit. And even though they didn't really score on the fast break, they still did, a really good job of, kind of getting into their offense a little bit earlier and, and playing against some cross matches, which obviously it's tougher to get matched up when, you're flying up the floor after stops. So I think those two things, just kind of showing more length to guys in the paint and then cleaning the glass and flying up the floor, I think were two really big factors there.
That actually makes a lot of sense. That helps me out. Thank you. How much did they miss Halliburton tonight? The Pacers, obviously, that is, because that's the first time I've really sat down and watched the Pacers, and I get it with them. I see the potential when fully healthy, they can make some noise, like we saw in the tourney just last week.
Yeah, I think, something that Jim Pete talked about in the broadcast, it was something that I brought up in my preview over at Canis before the game, was that, the Pacers play with the fastest pace in the league with Tyrese Halliburton is on the floor. And it does really drop with Tyrese Halliburton off the floor. They go to I think second or third highest in the league when Halliburton's off the floor. And you saw that, right? Like TJ McConnell did a great job of pushing the pace off of stops and even off of makes too. And so the earlier they're able to get into their offense, kind of get the ball moving and kind of create some of that kinetic energy that makes it, more tiring on the defense and, allows them to create some open shots, obviously is something that's still present without Tyrese Halliburton. But Halliburton's their leading scorer, right? I think he's averaging 23 or 24 points a game, something like that this season. Obviously, it's pretty evident tonight that they just don't have a go-to number two scorer behind Halliburton. And that's been a huge problem for them. They've done a lot, they've done a great job of scoring by committee this season. You've seen some big games from Buddy Hield, from Miles Turner, from Bruce Brown, from Benedict Mathurin. Even McConnell's had some big games, and Aaron Nesmith has had some big games. But there's never been one guy that's been super consistent behind Halliburton, and that's obviously where they missed him the most tonight. In 3-point shooting, right? Halliburton is a fantastic above the break 3-point shooter. So outside of the corners, those are the tougher types of threes to shoot. And that's where 40% of his nightly shots come from, and he shoots more than 40 or shoots better than 40% on those above the break threes. And so that's obviously a lot of scoring opportunities that just weren't there. And, on a night when the Pacers only shoot 29% from three, obviously they're missing those, 3, 4, 5, 6 threes a game that Tyrese Halliburton can give you. So yeah, I honestly don't know that this game would have been a whole lot different with Halliburton, considering he wasn't 100%. This team played in a track meet last night in Washington, D.C.
Right. Tough, brutal road trip they're on right now.
The pregame total closed at 260.5, which was the highest in NBA history. Shout out to any of those of you who had the under. It landed on 260 flat.
Of course, Vegas
which was an insane beat. If anyone had that was a sweaty watch last night. But yeah, I think that, the pace of last night's game certainly had to play a factor and just how tired these guys were.
Yeah.
So it's obviously tough, but yeah, I think just not having his scoring more so than anything, because as you saw it tonight with no go-to scorer for the Pacers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I could see why they're going to be a lot of fun to watch down the stretch, though. Again, when fully healthy, I get it. All right, 2 more quick ones for you before we wrap up. But first, a quick word from Dave. Quick reminder, tonight's episode is brought to you by Dave, because at one time or another, we all need a little financial help. That's why Dave is here to help. Dave can get you the cash when you need a hand in between paychecks, and Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance money you need with no interest and settle up later. Download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. That's dave.com/lockedonnba for $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, No late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/lockedonnba. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Let's go back to the comments section. Huge shout out to you guys every night, by the way. Love you guys. Always chirping in with a lot of great questions and comments. Let's go back to Dave. I got a question, says Dave. I like Jaden McDaniels, but he doesn't seem to be very effective on offense. And I hear his defense is extremely good. Can you please explain how he is good on defense?
How he's good on defense or offense?
It says defense, but you got to imagine offense.
I would think that means I would think that means offense,
right?
Yeah,
I think we've seen how good McDaniels, even as like a surface level fan, you don't need to watch too many games. Just the length and physical ability from him. You can see the defense on a night.
And how he just doesn't ever get screened. He's amazing at moving around screens, and he's one of the best shot blockers in the NBA, independent of position. At any rate, his offense. You see with Jaden McDaniels, it's very rare that you see a guy that's 7 feet tall move as fluidly as Jaden McDaniels does. And you pair that with the handle that he has, and it allows him to get to the rim. He's a pretty good finisher at the rim. He's really long, and that allows him to, finish at some unique angles that a lot of guys in the league aren't able to. And he often gets, draws a matchup of like probably the worst defensive player on the other team. And he's actually very good at being able to take advantage of mismatches off the dribble. The problem with Jaden offensively this season is he just has never really been 100% at all this season. So it's been hard for him to find a rhythm, but he also is a 40% catch and shoot 3-point shooter. And that's pretty valuable, especially when you're playing around, guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards that draw a lot of attention, can drive and collapse the defense, and you kick it out to shooters. And I think the biggest thing for Jaden is for him to be able to more consistently, attack off the dribble and be able to give you 15, 17, 20 points on a night when either Karl or Ant does not have their best scoring night. And I think that's the next step for him. Whether he's able to develop that this season, I'm not sure. Obviously, injuries are part of the game, and it's really tough, especially after he played like 79 games last season for him to already miss as many as he's missed. So hope he gets healthy. But yeah, it's just all pretty rare to have all those things in a guy that's legitimately 7 feet tall. And he's able to attack closeouts when he is making 3-point shots and either finish at the rim or make pretty simple reads and kickouts to the other end of the floor, keep the defense in rotation and create some easy shots for his teammates. And he's one of the better transition finishers in the league. And that's obviously really important, especially when the Timberwolves are in situations where he's able to contest and release. So he contests a 3-point shot and then releases up the floor, and guys can hit him with outlet passes. He's been very good finishing in those situations. But yeah, I think, for people wanting more consistency from him, I think that's certainly warranted. I think, it's just comes down to, I think, giving him a little bit of grace with some of the injuries that he's had so far this season, and how tough it is to really find a consistent offensive rhythm when, when you're dealing with injuries like that.
Right. No, that makes sense. And that's a great breakdown. Thank you, Dave, for the question. And Mike over here says Jaden is a top 3, at least 3-and-D player right now. Who's the other top 2, top of your head, just so I can start paying attention around the league? Who's another guy or two that's, one of the best 3-and-D players in the NBA right now? Top of your head.
Oh, man. Derek White is a guy.
Okay.
Comes to mind for the Celtics for sure. And then I think, that is a really tough
Derek
question.
White, though. Okay, Derek White and Jaden.
Derek White's the first guy that comes to mind. I think at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, it's tough for me.
I like it. No, I like it. Let's just go for one. That's all I need for now.
Give me 2 minutes, and I'd give you a list of 15 guys.
I love it. All right. In the meantime, schedule coming up still doesn't let up. Heat, Sixers, Lakers, Kings. That's Jimmy. That's Joel. That's LeBron. De'Aaron Fox. Gauntlet. 3 of those next 4 on the road. Quick thoughts when you hear that stretch after what you saw tonight. What's the number one thing that needs to maybe improve or just continue to be an area of strength for this T-Wolves team?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here for me is, is just their ability to slow down superstar players. And you've got, a slew of them, and they all do different things very well. Obviously, Jaden McDaniels' availability will be really important. I think they can get away without having Jaden McDaniels against Miami, just because I think you can put Anthony Edwards on Jimmy Butler, put Nikhil on Jimmy Butler. You could probably even put Kyle Anderson on Jimmy Butler, since Jimmy Butler isn't the most explosive guy in the world. And then from there, I really think that the Timberwolves can win, string together wins against some of these teams. I think Philadelphia, if you're able to contain Joel Embiid even the slightest bit, I think that the Philadelphia 76ers have a really tough time scoring when he doesn't have it. I mean, he's had it in almost every single game that he's played in so far this season. But they rely so heavily upon him offensively that, if they're in a situation where they're just feeding him the ball and he's not able to score as efficiently as he has this season, you have to like their chances there. I think, again, another situation where, having Jaden McDaniels to be able to guard Tyrese Maxey would be huge. And then you could probably play that spy Rudy coverage that they've played against the Nuggets, where you have Karl Anthony Towns on Jokic, in this case Embiid, and then have Rudy Gobert kind of be able to sag off one of the players on the 76ers, maybe a guy like Tobias Harris, kind of see if he can make some threes, but if not, as a guy that's not really going to kill you off the dribble. And then with the Lakers, I think it's, just going to be a really fun matchup, I think, with Taurean Prince and D'Angelo Russell coming back to Target Center. Obviously LeBron is LeBron. We'll see if LeBron wants to get up for that one. He hasn't historically gotten up to play games at Target Center. And obviously, Anthony Davis and Karl Anthony Towns have had some pretty awesome head-to-head matchups in recent years, really since they came into the league. So it'll be really fun to see, how different these superstars are and how the Timberwolves go about defending them. And, whether, I think this will be 3 really good, unique tests in a row for the number 1 ranked defense in the league. And we'll see if they can come out the other side still ranked atop the leaderboard here in the defensive rating category, but also in the Western Conference standings, which they want to say the lead is now up to 2.5 games.
I believe so. OKC at halftime right now. No, I think you're right. I think that sounds right. Yeah.
3 games right now.
It is 3. Okay.
So.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. They've handled it well thus far, but the Wolves, they still have, on paper anyways, the toughest remaining schedule the rest of the way in December. So I know they built this nice little lead in the West right now over OKC, but couple tough weeks coming up here, man. Either way, that's going to really end up leaving the Wolves December, I guess, very battle tested. Let's just put it that way. Well done tonight, as always, man. Wolves swept the Pacers series in back-to-back seasons the last 2 years. They start tonight looking like they could do the same with just pure domination in the second half, thanks to 77 from Ant and Cat, moved to 19-5 on the season, 11-1 at home. Nobody else better in the NBA right now. Check the power rankings. They never lie. As always, huge shout out to everyone that joined us on the postcast tonight. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game, same time, same place, right here to break it all down. And quick reminder as well, go check out all of Jack's work on Twitter at JRBorman13. Anything new since we last spoke? Just a few days ago, I know, but maybe we should be on the lookout for anything up on Canis Hoopus as of late that Wolves fans maybe might want to dive into.
Yeah, hoping to get a couple of different columns out over the course of the next week, 10 days, as the work schedule is a little bit lighter heading into the holidays. So I'm going to be looking at some bigger themes that we've seen from the Timberwolves so far this season, and and how it's feeling one of the best starts that they've ever had, and how they can hopefully continue to keep it rolling here as they keep trudging along here in this pretty tough stretch here in December.
Yeah, love it, man. That'll do it for us tonight. Next on deck, it is the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler, Monday night in Miami. Join us again right here for the entire recap. And follow all our work over on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. One more plug, too. If you haven't already, go check out Ben Beacon over on the Locked On Wolves podcast as well. He's Jack Borman. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter, at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.